There will be two hosts on the show today. Me and me from 2 days ago live from Payson, Arizona. Let's have some fun, talk some Camp T, and a little bit of some other stuff as well. It's another edition of PHNX Sun Devils. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils Show live, as always, from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Head to any Circle K Arizona location where you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents now through September 3rd. I am Erik Ruby. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Kyle Cooper, the best passenger seat sitter that I've ever seen in my entire life, made the trip up to Payson, Arizona for Camp T. We're going to get all into that today. Hello, Emily. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Sharon. Make sure you guys all are hitting that like button. Make sure you are subscribing to PHNX Sports. A lot of exciting stuff coming up, including, we're going to tease it, we are going to put together, Kyle and I, one of the reasons we were up there in Camp T wasn't just to cover the scrimmage, which I'm going to have a full almost 30 minutes of something that I recorded, including interviews with Cole Martin and Graham Rossini. All of that is going to be coming up very soon, but I do want to keep your guys' eyes out. Sometime later this week or the beginning of next week, we're going to have a really, really cool little mini doc package type of thing about Camp T, the history of it. We talked to some fantastic Sun Devil faithful, some of them that have been going to Camp T for almost 60 plus years. Gonna be a really, really, really fun package for those of you that absolutely love Camp T. And if you have not made it out to Camp T, my Lord, what a beautiful, so unique place to have a football practice and a scrimmage and talking to all the players there and the coaches and Graham and all that. It's just truly an incredible place. What's up, Rhonda? Excited for the season as well? Yes, I didn't know if you were up at Camp T. I should have found you and said hi. Dang it. I'm sorry I missed you, Rhonda, but yeah, it was a fantastic time up at Camp T, and I'm going to get into that, but we're going to give it a second first before we get there. There is some housekeeping we have to do, and I want to start off with something that came out last week, like an hour and a half after I got off the show with Ralph, which big shout out to Ralph for helping me hold it down last week, but I would have loved to talk about this. Peat, the man here locally when it comes to Arizona basketball, has released his top 5 schools that he is considering. So let's take a look at those. Of course, you have Arizona State. He's going to be getting an official visit at the end of this month on the 30th. Then he's going to go to Arkansas with Coach K, Duke, Baylor, and Arizona. That's going to be over about a month and a half span. Those are all the official visits for 2025 5-star local athlete, Peat. This is absolutely so exciting. Genuinely so exciting, the fact that Peat at least is visiting Arizona State. And I think after what's happened this past offseason with Jaden Quaintance and Joe Sansanin and even Amir Ali to a certain extent as well, this shows that there is a path for these high-level, high-talent, some of the best in the country guys to come to Arizona State, to play in Tempe for Bobby Hurley and for this program. And it is not a far-fetched reality that Peat is wearing that maroon and gold. And if you go and you look in the comments of that tweet, a majority of the people commenting are ASU alumni and faithful. Of course, when it comes to high school athletes, everybody keep it respectful, but at the same time, definitely show your support, definitely show your love. And if you don't know who Peat is, go look him up right now, because since the moment he walked onto the court as a freshman out there in Perry High School, he's been that dude, and he has continued to grow and grow and grow, and he is somebody who could do absolutely everything. We're talking about a potential top 5, even a potential top 1 pick in the NBA draft, and he will be visiting Arizona State University. Now, we'll get more into basketball and everything like that as we get closer to the season. I do want to do one more thing when it comes to football housekeeping, and that is this. Brett McMurphy put out there earlier today a preseason top 25 from the AP. I'm going to read off all 25, and I want you guys to let me know if you see a theme here. So coming at first, we have Georgia, then Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, Florida State, Missouri, Utah, LSU, Clemson, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Miami, Texas A&M, Arizona, Kansas, USC, North Carolina State, and Iowa. So as we take a look up here, I want to just note how many of these schools are in the Big 12, because this just goes to show that the Big 12 is quite the conference to be reckoned with. You have Utah coming in at number 12. You have Oklahoma State at 17, Kansas State at 18, Arizona at 21, and Kansas at 22. This year in the Big 12 is going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. And I think this just kind of paints a picture and goes to show that it's not going to be an easy run for ASU this year or even for the next couple of years, as some of these schools, maybe besides Arizona, are set up for some long-term success. Obviously, Utah coming in at the top spot at 12. That is almost everybody's just safest pick to win the Big 12. Oklahoma State at 17, and then Kansas State at 18. I find it very interesting that Kansas is all the way down there at 22. I do think that Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State are close, and they are technically close in the top 25. Definitely something to keep an eye on out there. Tony in the chat saying that he's giving ASU a courtesy visit. Listen, bud, when we've stolen one of your 5 stars within the last 4 months, I don't think it's much of a courtesy visit, okay? I understand you want to take shots. I get it. It's all in good fun. But to pretend and act like ASU is not an actual spot for some of the best players in the country to land after what we have seen this offseason, you're delusional. You're genuinely delusional. There is absolutely a chance that Peat comes to Arizona State University. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pound on the table and tell you that it's 100% going to happen. But if you are just pretending like it's some far-fetched reality, I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. And we'll get back to football in a second because Tony kind of brought me back on that thought path. And one thing that I think should really, really be recognized here is that if Quaytons and Sannon have very good seasons and are used to their best ability by Bobby Hurley, and that they look good in this documentary that comes out, that's going to be massively appealing for other very high 5-star recruits to come in and want to play for Arizona State. And add on top of that, the fact that Jaden Quaytons has another year of eligibility. So it's not like Peat would be joining a team that just lost 2 5-stars, but Josan Sannon is supposed to be a one and done. And if everything goes right for him, he probably will be. And there is a chance that he's a lottery pick. And if you can prove that not only you can get 5 stars like Jaden Quaytons to come in here and to develop and to stay after one season, and then you can also prove that you can get a 5-star, come in, play up to their ability, and then go in the first round of the draft, those are 2 different things to show 5 stars that they're going to want to come here. I get it. You don't want to pay attention to ASU. You don't want to give ASU any sort of credit. And you know what? I get it. From your perspective, I get it. But when you look at it from the facts perspective, and you look at where this program is set up, if they go out and capitalize on this opportunity, having these 5 stars, having an incredible transfer class, and even Amir Ali in all of this as well, is going to be a factor on this team. If Bobby Hurley can get the most out of these young players, put together a winning team, make the tournament, this program's outlook changes. The money invested in this program changes. If they do another season of the documentary, that money changes things. And I know it's a pay-to-play era, but if you are on the same playing field, or at least similar when it comes to money, and you're pitching Tempe, and you're pitching this type of lifestyle, I guarantee you somebody who grew up that close to Tempe would strongly consider it. So I get it. And you know what? I'm not even mad at your comment. I'm sure that if in a twist-up reality, evil Erik Ruby was a U of A fan and was also thinking the same thing, I'd probably throw the same dicks. But this is my reality, and this is the truth. And that's the fact that if you don't believe Arizona State is at least a legit contender, you're just not paying attention. And I get it. You're probably not paying attention, and that's fine. Okay, a little bit more on football. Sharon says, I think we play all those schools this year as well. Let me look it up real quick, but I do believe you are right. I know for sure that they're going to play Utah. They do play Kansas. So let's look here. Wyoming, Arizona State, week 1. So week 5, Kansas, Arizona State. Week 6, Utah, Arizona State. And then Oklahoma State's 2 weeks after that. Kansas State is 2 weeks after that. And then U of A is 2 weeks after that. So yeah, you play every single team in the top 25 that is preseason ranked in the Big 12. And you know what? Like, you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as, ooh, that's a little bit scary. You know, there's going to be some good competition. But you can also look at it as very, very good test for these Sun Devils, especially because you're going to have at least 4 games under your belt by the time you take on preseason ranked number 22 Kansas. You're looking at Wyoming, Mississippi State, Texas State, and Texas Tech. There is not a far-fetched reality where ASU could have 3 or 4 wins if they are playing up to their ability and everything clicks. Now, you know, it might not be that easy and they might start off 2-2, but listen, Kansas, Arizona State, Utah, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, all the teams in the top 5 for the Big 12 are on the schedule for ASU this year. So I think it's time to get to Camp T. But before we go to Camp T, I want to tell you about our friends over at Sanderson Ford. Now, in order to get up to Camp T, you needed a reliable car, and there's no better way to get a reliable car than with our friends over at Sanderson Ford. And if you've been around the Valley for however long, it could be a day, it could be a decade, it could be a century, you know about Sanderson Ford, and we are proud to have them as our official vehicle partner. We went out to their facility the other week. I will give a little bit of insight here. This has nothing to do with them, but I did eat crap. I did eat crap while we were shooting a video, and we do have a video of it. Maybe if we get enough likes, maybe sometime at the end of this week, we'll play that video. But we were shooting some fun stuff, and I just completely ate crap. But that was my fault. That was not Sanderson Ford's fault. But the best part about being there was seeing their 65-acre facility and, you know, buying a car, renting a car, doing anything with your car, getting serviced on it, it usually takes a long time. That's just kind of how it goes. But not only will Sanderson Ford get you out of there as fast as possible, while you're there, your experience is going to be second to none. They have the Starliner Diner, which we had a fantastic lunch at, very affordable prices, good merchandise, great shirts. I know Damon Dog got a great shirt as well. They have a museum. They really just have everything to make your stay there as easy as possible. They are massive as far as giving back to our community, which we're huge here at PHNX. They donate and support St. Mary's Food Bank, Southwest Autism Research Center, Military Assistant Mission, Special Olympics Arizona. Really, every little thing that you hear about, you know, these commercials at Sanderson Ford, look at all the people they're helping, and they do it with pride. But not only that, they're going to give you great deals on vehicles. They're pushing for the playoffs, and you get the payoffs like deals on a 24 Ford Bronco Sport. Big Bend just ranked highest quality in its segment by J.D. Power, plus 0% financing for 36 months with no payments for 90 days on a Ford F-150, Escape, Edge, Explorer, and Expedition. The Sanderson Ford Summer Sales event is here, and they're teaming up with the boys this summer for a final playoff payoff sale. Purchase or lease any new Ford and get Ford tickets for your family to see a hot D-backs team push for those playoffs. A disclaimer, you can get 0% for 36 months OAC from Ford Credit. Just see your dealer for details. And of course, I want to shout out our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. They're more like family to me at Desert Financial Credit Union because for more than 84 years, DFCU has been Arizona's largest and most trusted local credit union dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that just make life better. And when I say they are my friends, I truly mean it because they are my family as well. And they've been in my family for such a long time, literal generations. Generations we've been in my family. So we'll tell our friends about Desert Financial Credit Union. They've got your basics, your checkings, your savings, your mortgages, your loans, your credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, there is no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the only place where you can show your team spirit every time you make a purchase with exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams. Bring the boom and get fired up with an Arizona State University Visa debit card. They have 3 different designs that you can choose from there. And if all of that wasn't enough, they're fantastic customer service. Their locations all across the valley. And they're going to give you $200 if you go right now and you open up a checking account online, a free checking account. Get $200 plus your choice of 3 Arizona State University Visa debit cards. So to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started. Now, before we throw it to my 30 minutes basically from Camp T, I just want to say a couple things that I took away. Now, I've been technically to Camp T. I've been to that campus before. However, I went with my family. We knew somebody and we were able to go up there and spend a weekend. It was very nice. I've never been up there for an actual football practice until this year. And let me tell you, it was something absolutely special. Genuinely, will never forget that for the rest of my life. Every single spot that a fan could be sitting in, could be standing in, was packed. We had signs for Trenton Bourget saying, "Thank you, TB16. It really was something special to see out there and to see this community rally and to see this community come together. And I talked to so many people for this little mini doc we're going to be putting out at the end of this week or early next week. And we just got so much love for Kenny Dillingham, love for the program, love for everything Camp T related. And I'm going to get into a little bit more of that. Plus, of course, my takeaways from the scrimmage, from the practice, what I saw up there in beautiful Payson, Arizona. I will be back after this. We're not going to end just that. I'm going to give some final thoughts and wrap it up. But right now, I'm going to throw it to myself in the future, live, kind of, from Payson, Arizona. It's me from Saturday afternoon. We are here smack dab in the middle of the Camp T practice field. ASU just had their scrimmage in front of a bunch of fans right behind me. If you're watching on video, which we appreciate. If you're listening on audio, we also appreciate you. A bunch of fans completely packed, basically, for lack of a better term, sold out Camp T. And before I get into my biggest takeaways from the practice, as they are packing up some things here, so if you hear some trucks moving around or anything, you know, it's just them packing up after a very, very big day. So we apologize if that is getting picked up on the microphone. One of the things that really struck me today is the optimism that is coming from so many different people in this fan base. Had just the wonderful opportunity to catch up with a ton of Sun Devil faithful. People have been coming to Camp T since the 1960s, the 1970s, and so on and so forth. And every single person we talked to, and we got those on video, and there's gonna be something really special we're putting together for you guys this week. They all, without even asking, brought up a sense of optimism when it came to Kenny Dillingham, when it came to Graham Rossini, when it came to this ASU athletics department and the ASU football team in general, and coming off of where you were at about 2 years ago. And of course, even a season that a lot of people would deem disappointing. I don't think even anybody on ASU wouldn't say that last season was disappointing, given all of the factors that go into it are still existent, and it's not just that they went out there and were just so bad, but that there was so much kind of stacked against them. It's hard to put into words how different everybody feels when they're here. Usually you would think that there would be just kind of this doom and gloom, sad, down type of energy here. Maybe the fan support wouldn't be enough, but there was people waiting just out past where the fans were even sitting because they showed up a little bit later and they just wanted to see this. And the core of all that optimism and the core of everything, well, yes, the new players are great and people are excited about a lot of these transfers. It has been Kenny Dillingham. And it is something that you guys as ASU fans listening to this probably all know. And we, of course, know, covering the team and sticking with them very, very closely and kind of seeing the groundwork being put in here, is the way that he approaches building a team, a program, a community, is not one that many other head coaches take on. I even had a Sun Devil faithful, somebody who has been a fan since Frank Kush, tell me that Kenny Dillingham reminded them of Frank Kush, because Frank Kush came over here around the same age that Kenny Dillingham is at right now and reinvigorated the program. And most of all, they also mentioned putting together just an incredible coaching staff. And there was so much put out there about how an amazing staff that Kenny has created, how much they care, and how they can relate to the kids. And all of that ties back into Camp T, because this is a part of ASU's history that is just beautiful. And in order to talk about that history, you know, you can't just talk about the last 5 years, but you could talk about, since this was a dirt lot, a dirt road, this is somebody that Frank Kush literally saw and came down here and said, can we level out this field where I'm standing right now, where there is a full turf field, and they used to play on rocks and on dirt, and it's turned into all of this. And you can't come here and look around at the beautiful scenery and all of the people supporting and look at all the players and even talking to them as well and not realize that this is very, very special and very unique for college football or for any sort of sports. And there's a chance that maybe other sports start taking advantage of Camp T as well, and that was something that ASU Athletic Director Graham Rossini mentioned. I was able to catch up with him for a couple of minutes. Here's that. Out here, post-scrimmage at Camp T with ASU Athletic Director Graham Rossini. First Camp T as Athletic Director. How was it?
Thanks, Eric. It was awesome. A lot of energy around camp all week, but certainly today, just having this many fans out here, excited for football to start here in a couple weeks, and just get good energy around the Sun Devils.
And we were talking to some of these fans, some of these longtime fans. People have been coming out to Camp T for decades, decades and decades. And they're talking about a renewed sense of excitement with this program. What does it mean to come up here in a beautiful place, refresh, but also know that there are so many fans excited for what's going on?
We feel that energy, and it's part of what's daily driving us right now to be making great decisions, finding new moments to get our fans involved, to see a freeway shut down full of cars and Sun Devil fans willing to leave the Valley on an early Saturday morning, drive up here for a scrimmage. It's just there's an electricity and energy that we want to keep feeding every chance we get, and so we know there's a lot of enthusiasm for this team with what's been building and what's been brewing, and we're just eager for the season start.
For somebody who doesn't know, either an ASU fan or somebody different, when it comes to Camp T and being up here among the nature, what do you hear from your coaches and your players about just how special that is?
Yeah, there's nothing like it in college football, and it's been nice that it's starting to get that national notoriety. This is a unique advantage for ASU to have a setting like Camp T and an unbelievable facility. The team can come together. They're building relationships. It's a grind. They're working really hard, but at some point, there's a lot of former players here today, and they talk about they miss that togetherness. They miss those moments together, and so building these traditions and making sure that this current group of Sun Devils understands the group that came before them, the origin story of what this meant to Coach Cush and the heyday of college football, and how do we restore that shine and what we're doing next.
And speaking of origins, obviously you've been a lifelong Sun Devil, right? So do you have any Camp T memories or stories, things you've heard from maybe before?
It was hard to get up here, when I was in school, right? We're getting baseball season going, school's going, and so football was kind of off on their own. And so it hadn't been until the past couple of years that I've actually had a chance to come up and enjoy it myself. And seeing the energy, seeing the enthusiasm, we just want to keep doing more up here. We added a day this year. That was a great add. Now a number of our other coaches are saying, hey, how do we tap into Camp T and do team bonding and culture moments for our programs up here as well? And so there's probably an opportunity for us to do more beyond just football up here, because it's such an incredible setting, and the point of building these relationships around the maroon and gold is the most important part.
So a couple months in to the new gig, how are you feeling? Feel like you're settling in?
Eager to go. It's just great that we're in events now. There's a lot of planning over the summertime. It's been a really long summer. There's been a lot to do, but a lot of good momentum starting to build, and we're excited that now fans are interacting with the team. We play 3 weeks from tonight. We've got soccer starting this week, volleyball right behind them, and so getting back into that event rhythm is going to be the part that I'm looking forward to the most.
Have you learned anything over the last couple months?
Yeah, learned a lot. It's been great to just be with our fans, sit down and really have long conversations and listen and get feedback and understand the parts that they love and miss, the parts that have been maybe frustrating as of late. All that information is helpful for us as we kind of build what comes next, and we can't do it on our own. We need feedback from our fans. We need to understand what people are asking for more of, what they want less of, and it's all built around spirit, pride, and tradition that's so unique to ASU.
What's the best way for somebody who maybe has some strong feelings on that they want to relay to you to do that?
Yeah, reach out. I mean, I'm trying to be present on social media. That's obviously a challenge.
Drop the at, Graham. Drop the at.
Yeah, at Graham Rossini on all platforms. So, want to interact. My email is public, so I want to be accessible to our fans. I've had really good interfacing with alumni, with fans, donors, etc. We want information. We want feedback. We can make better decisions when we have feedback from the people who care the most.
One last thing, a message to fans before football season?
Show up. We need you. We need you at Mountain America Stadium. This team feeds off the energy that the Sun Devils bring. We're going to compete hard. We're working on building an improved game day fan experience every way that we can. Let's do it together. Let's be Sun Devils. Let's share this love of what's going on here at ASU and just show up and join the party with us.
Plain and simple. You heard it from ASU Athletic Director Graham Rossini. We always appreciate Graham Rossini stopping by the program. A lot of really fun stuff coming up for Sun Devils. Like he mentioned, he's getting into event season. He's getting into a bunch of different sports. And of course, that does include football. So I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's actually talk about the football portion here at Camp T. The quarterbacks. The story is always the quarterbacks. We're going to start with the quarterbacks, and we're going to get to some other key performers as well. Not a banner day for either Sam Leavitt or Jeff Sims. Now, Trenton Bourguet, you could argue Trenton Bourguet actually had the best Camp T scrimmage out of all of those quarterbacks. Let's start with Sam Leavitt. He was getting first string reps out there. And the big theme today with Sam Leavitt was power, but not in a good way. Sam Leavitt was overthrowing receivers left and right. Now, to be fair, he had a couple of the best throws of the entire day as well. He also was scrambling really well. He picked up a couple first downs, kept his head on while he was in the pocket very well when he was staying on the ground. But when that pocket collapsed and he started launching it downfield, the one play that really stands out to me the most is they were about on the 50-yard line where I'm standing right now. And Jake Smith put on the burners and was wide open, down basically in the end zone. If he catches the ball, he walks in for a touchdown. I would say about 5 or 10 yards he was overthrown. And Jake Smith's a very fast player, so we're talking about some very immense arm power from Sam Leavitt, which is something that people are, fond of in their quarterbacks, but you have to be able to kind of rein that in. And it wasn't just the long throws as well. There were a couple of short and medium throws that were going over receivers' heads. It wasn't a banner day, and you could tell kind of by the way that he was disappointed in himself or how Kenny was talking too. However, Kenny did say after practice that both quarterbacks performed well. He liked what he saw from both of them, but there were mistakes. There was not only the overthrows from Sam Leavitt, but he also had a fumble on, I believe it was the first or the second offensive possession that went out there. It was a mesh running back handoff, and the ball just kind of got lost, and the defense was able to recover it. And we'll get to the defense because the defense had a really strong day. 4 takeaways overall from the defense. However, 2 of those were fumbles. 2 of those were Jeff Sims interceptions, and that brings us to the current second-string quarterback, or at least getting second-string reps at this moment in time, Jeff Sims. Sims had a really strong camp. A really strong camp. In fact, a camp that has had a lot of people who weren't really Jeff Sims believers, weren't really the biggest fans of ASU bringing in Jeff Sims, kind of changed their tune a little bit. And I was a little hesitant when Jeff Sims got brought in, and I will definitely put my hand up on that. But after seeing what he's done throughout camp so far, you can see at least why. And the thing that has plagued Jeff Sims, even at his old schools, was the mistakes. It was the turnovers. It was the interceptions. And when we talked to Kenny Dillingham on the show a couple months ago, we asked about Sims, and he said that when he sat down and he watched Sims tape with Jeff Sims, he showed him all his mistakes. And while Sims took responsibility for every single one of them, Kenny was saying, a lot of the times he wasn't being used the right way, his receivers weren't running the right routes, his coach's game plan didn't seem like it was completely coherent and put together. And so there were a lot of factors that led into the stat line and the touchdown-to-interception ratio that Jeff Sims had. However, today, you also saw that sometimes it has come down to decision-making, and there were a couple throws where they weren't contested balls. They weren't jump balls, and a receiver and a defender had their hands on it at the same time, and the defender just happened to take it away. A beautiful pick by Kamari Wilson. He had a really strong day out here, and we'll get to the defense as well, and we're going to hear from Cole Martin in a second as well, who hyped up his entire defense. But the thing with Sims that I kind of saw was when things are going right, you can see why with everything there that you would want a quarterback like that out on the field. And there was a certain point in this practice where he looked better than Sam Leavitt, but then as soon as those turnovers kind of reared their ugly head, it kind of felt like it took him out of it a little bit. Now, that might be unfair. That might just be today. I've only been up at Camp T for today, and I was talking to some people, and again, Sims has looked a lot better than he did today. So it's not necessarily like Jeff Sims is over. How dare you even believe in Jeff Sims? Like, he very much still could be either the starting quarterback week 1, or he could be a starting quarterback at some point this season. I'd say as of right now, just looking at who is getting the reps when Sam Leavitt is your most likely starting quarterback. But let's also talk about Trenton Bourguet, because not only did he have probably the most fundamentally sound camp scrimmage, but he probably had the most fan support too. There was an entire row of fans that had a thank you TB16 signs, and they were all holding it up. And that's just a really cool moment for somebody that embodies what it means to be a Sun Devil, to be somebody who supports this program. I mean, we've seen other quarterbacks in this room run when there has been competition, or not really stick here and embrace their role and know that, at the end of the day, if I do things right and I do it my way, I'm going to get what I deserve. And Trenton Bourguet is the person who does that. He knows that he probably is not going to be the starting quarterback week 1 for this team. There is a chance that he doesn't start for this team at all this year. But I know somehow, some way, the ball's going to find him. And he knows that too. And he looked sharp. He looked prepared. He had some very, very, very good, crisp throws. Just what you expect from him. Because when he's played, he's had some really good performances. It's just that ceiling. It's, can he take you to that next level? And maybe the argument is, if you surround him with better talent, and we all believe that ASU has gotten better from last year to this year, that's all you need. But currently it looks like he's slotting in there pretty securely as that third string quarterback. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see him get some playing time, especially if Leavitt and Sims go out there and get run and they maybe disappoint a little bit. But that's the quarterback room. I'm going to go from offense to defense before we switch back and talk about some wide receivers and running backs and what stood out today, because there were two wide receivers that really, really stuck out to me, and then there's some getting running back carries that you might be interested in. So let's talk about the defense. 4 takeaways for the defense so far today. The MVPs for me: Keyshaun Elliott, Cyrus Fiaseu, Cole Martin, who is just always so solid, and CJ Fight as well. And I mean, Kamari Wilson also had a pick too, and I mentioned this in a social video that went out there on PHNX Sun Devils. Zach Swanson, especially in individual drills, you really got a sense of how much Zach Swanson can move people. And that is something that ASU desperately needed before they got him, and they're desperately going to need him to step up in that way. But before we get to Zach, I want to talk about Kamari Wilson. He looked fantastic out there. Obviously, he had the pick off Jeff Sims. That one was probably, out of all the picks, the one that took the most energy and effort from a defender to actually go and grab. The other ones were a little bit less well-placed balls, but he really jumped the route on that one, and you could tell the entire defense was going absolutely crazy. He looked strong, he looked athletic, he looked quick, he looked like exactly what you want out of him when he was transferring over, and he's definitely having an argument for somebody who should be seeing some pretty consistent play time out there. CJ Fight had a lot of really good plays as well, mucking it up there in the middle. He's just so strong, he's so consistent, he's so solid that they could definitely rely on him. And my player that I was looking forward to watching the most coming in today was Cyrus Fiaseu. It was going to be my first time being able to come out here and see him in person. And he got an interception, which was maybe the loudest pop from the defensive side today, was Cyrus Fiaseu's was his interception. And one thing that you could just tell that he really brings is that energy. And the energy to a level where he's got the hair flowing, he's got everybody around him, they're celebrating, and on a wide scale perspective on everything, that was the defense. Because the defense had such a good day, there was just this level of jubilance and energy from them. And Kenny even mentioned, like, if you're able to get 4 takeaways in a football game and 7 points from your defense as well, you're probably going to win that football game. And that could raise some concerns about the offense, of course, and Kenny definitely mentioned that. But he said last year they didn't have the type of defense that can go out and do that and to go out and get stops. And this is definitely one that has some very significant playmakers. I mean, you have pressuring the quarterback, Zach Swanson. You have CJ Fight, Cyrus Fiaseu. And that's just 3 of many, many names that can also be in there as well. I believe Jeff Clark had a really, really good play today. He might have been able to force a fumble. I can't remember if it was him, but I know he got to the quarterback a couple of times as well. And then, of course, on the outside, Shamari had a really, really good day today. A lot of people saying, hey, good job, Shamari, good job, Shamari, good play. Cole Martin just looked solid, just looked really, really good. He knew what he was doing. He looked quick, he looked fast, he looked strong. Exactly what you come to expect from the Oregon transfer. And, of course, Kamari Wilson as well, like I mentioned, getting that interception and just looking like he belongs out there on the field. I mean, this defense was so overjoyed every time they got a stop, every time they made a play. It felt like a very, very cohesive unit. And that is my biggest takeaway from just that defensive side of the ball. Playmakers and a lot of chemistry. And some of that chemistry and just what Camp T brings was something that Cole Martin touched on when I was able to grab him after practice. This is what he had to say just about the Camp T and the entire experience. Out here after Camp T scrimmage with our boy, Cole Martin, Headspace. Make sure you check it out. How are you feeling after Camp T?
Awesome. Camp T was awesome. I mean, good experience. I mean, look at the nature, man. I mean, so, you know.
It's beautiful out here.
So, hey, I mean, we love it. It was a great experience for sure.
What do you feel like as a team you guys took away from your time out here?
Communication. I mean, we talk a lot more on the field, and it's been allowing us to play faster and stuff like that. And then, you know, it's a brotherhood. So we've been emphasizing that and then just putting, like, you know, all that work into that. So it's been good.
Obviously, you guys try to do that on a daily basis out in Tempe.
Mm-hmm.
But when you all get on buses and you come out to a place with no cell service and you look around, like you mentioned, with the nature, and you're going to a creek and you're going up hikes, and apparently some guys got goaded into going a little bit higher up than usual.
For sure.
How different is that than maybe being in your normal day-to-day environment?
It's awesome. I mean, when you don't have service and you're just around your people, it brings you together. So it's been a great experience. Like you said, going up to the top, it was fun. You know, we want to go to the top this year, so that was our metaphor.
So you got some live reps out there. You got your one-on-ones. You got your full scrimmage as well. Felt good to put the pads on?
Man, you know, it feels amazing. I mean, to be out here and play, you know, with these guys, I mean, we're going to be a great team this year. So with the opportunity to, like, get out here and, you know, just have fun and experience camp for, you know, ASU version of it, it's been awesome.
Is there any player, offense or defense, that stood out to you this past week?
Kamari had a great play. He had a pick today. You know, Xavion, Shamari, they always do their thing. Ghost Rouser, he's going to do a lot of great things. Mason Williams, he's going to be consistent as always. You got Javen, you got Keith, you got LT, and the list goes on and on.
You just said it's everybody, everybody.
I mean, yeah, the list goes on and on. So we're going to be a great team this year. I can't wait for it.
All right, you're getting closer to week 1. Is the mindset changed at all now versus, let's say, like a month or 2 ago?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we get closer to the season, the film study becomes more of a priority, and, you know, everything else of, like, you know, locking in, doing the little things right, that becomes huge.
Any fun stories from camp, either coaches or players, somebody you're bunking with? I don't got to share too much.
No, for sure. I mean, last night there was a skunk that was, you know, kicking it around our dorms or our little bunks, and he let off one, and we woke up this morning like, it still smell out here.
You pointed at each other. Was that you?
Was that you? Was that you? They're all going around like, oh, who blew up the toilet? And then it come down to it. Dudes last night were like, oh, yeah, there was a skunk over here. We're like, oh, that makes sense. So
you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know. All right, Cole Martin, make sure you check out Headspace. Is going to be coming out soon. That's right. We're excited, man.
Let's do it. Headspace, PHNX Network, man.
That's right. Let's get it.
Let's do it.
You got to love Cole Martin. There's really nothing else. The dude lights up a room even when you're outside in the middle of beautiful Payson, Arizona at Camp Tontozona. If you're jumping in live right now on the PHNX Sun Devil Show, we appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports. We just hit 30,000 subscribers. Now we're looking for that march to 35K. And if you are just jumping in right now, I am right smack dab in the middle of the Camp T practice field where the ASU scrimmage just went on right now. So many fans out here and so many positive vibes, and somebody who was getting massively hyped up by Kenny Dillingham when we talked to him at the post-scrimmage was Keyshaun Elliott. And I'll let Kenny Dillingham tell you why Keyshaun Elliott might be the most dangerous player on this Sun Devil defense. Probably like, what, 2-3 minutes? Yeah. Cole is the most in Kenny Dillingham's system. That is something that will absolutely unlock all the players around him. And I think that's a really underrated aspect when it comes to just ASU in general this year compared to last year. Talking to some of the media on the sideline, not only is this roster more talented, but the amount of just awful luck that ASU went through last year when it just came down to plain injuries. They didn't have that type of depth and that type of roster to sustain 1 or 2 injuries, and let alone the seemingly hundreds that they actually sustained. And this team here, you don't see as massive of a drop-off when it comes to your second and your third strings. And when it comes to your defense, the pieces around some of your best players. And Xavier Alford had a good day today. Cole Martin, obviously, I've mentioned a couple times. Zach Swanson's a mover. Cyrus Fiaseu is a mover. CJ Fight is a mover. Keyshaun Elliott, according to Kenny Dillingham, is the smartest and the most athletic and the strongest and the fiercest on this team right now. I mean, when all those guys are able to play off of each other, that's going to unlock so much, and it's going to be able to keep that offense off the field more, and that's going to be really important when it comes to maintaining your running back room. And if one thing should be obvious about this team, and about Kenny Dillingham's scheme in general, but then definitely with this roster, is they're going to be a run-heavy team. they are going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to run it down your throat, and they have the running back room to do so, obviously spearheaded by Cam Scadaboo. We all know about Cam Scadaboo. We all know how good he looks. You know, they were doing, it wasn't the full scrimmage, but it was goal line reps, and I think Cam scored 3 or 4 touchdowns in a row. And you could tell his style of running was a lot more elusive, which is something that they've alluded to with his weight loss and wanting to kind of preserve his body and not make him as brute force strength type of guy. And you could tell he was shedding tackles, he was getting in there fast, and it wasn't like he was going in untouched, but like I said, this defense had a really good day, and he still was able to basically carve them up, let alone in the actual scrimmage as well. He had a good amount of carries too. But it wasn't just him getting carries. The most interesting name that I saw getting carries was Caleb Black, who is listed on the depth chart as a wide receiver, but one of his main attributes is his speed. And with this wide receiver room, he didn't seem to really be getting a lot of snaps in that department, but he was getting snaps back there as a running back. And he had a couple good runs too, but DeCarlos Brooks was coming in as a second string, and DeCarlos Brooks also looked really, really good. If he can stay healthy and be a nice 1-2 punch with Scat, that is going to be a bulk of your carries. Kyson Brown had one of the most electric plays of the day for a touchdown. One of the longer plays of the day as well, really showed off his speed. And that to me just kind of goes to show, not only do you have Cam, not only do you have DeCarlos, but even if those guys either don't perform to the level you want them to, or are maybe dealing with some sort of injury bug, or with Cam, you got to the end of last season, the guy was barely even practicing because of how much wear and tear was on his body in games. You're going to be able to preserve them, and you're going to be able to give them a lot of different looks. And you saw that when these running backs were switching out, as great as Cam is, and he might be the best player on the team, you still saw so much production and so much promise from everybody else who's below him in that running back room. And so I'm very excited to see how they do. And then the only other names I'm going to mention here are 2 wide receivers. We didn't get to see every wide receiver in the room out there today, but the 2 that definitely stood out, Melquan Stovall. Somebody around me while we were watching just said he's so solid, and that is the best way to put it. He was returning kicks, and they actually blew a whistle dead on a kick return where he was going to take it to the house. He had a nice hole right up the middle and was going to make it, but they called it dead, not because somebody was on him. I'm not sure why they called it dead. Everybody was very confused around, but he had a really, really good run, and he had really strong hands today. But maybe the man with the strongest hands today was Xavier Guillory. And he pulled down a touchdown, one of a throw that was a little bit low as well. He kind of had to dive and slide to the side and grab that one. But he had a couple really, really good catches, especially meeting up at the high point as well. So if I had to give, let me see, if I had to give an MVP to camp today, who would it be? It's probably somebody on defense. I got to mention Jake Smith had a couple really great catches and a lot of yak as well. Jake Smith looked really, really good. He might be the offensive MVP along with X. Defensive MVP, it's probably between Zyrus and Kamari. I'm going to go Zyrus. I think Zyrus made more of a consistent impact, and that's close. I might do co-MVPs. All right, we're going to do co-MVPs. Zyrus Fiaseu, Kamari Wilson, those are your co-defensive MVPs, and your offensive MVPs are X, Xavier Guillory, and Jake Smith. So 2 wide receivers, 2 defenders there as well. That is going to wrap it up here. Out here at Camp T. I want to give a shout out to super producer Kyle at K Coop Sports for coming out here, getting some beautiful shots. One of the things I want you guys to keep your eyes out and looking forward to is that we put together and are in the process of putting together a really, really beautiful tribute and package to Camp T. And so that's going to take a little bit of time to put together, not just something that you're going to get together super fast, but I want you to keep an eye out for that. And now I'm thinking I'm going to throw it back to myself in studio. So take it away, future Erik.
Yeah, that guy's got a lot of work. We're gonna have to work on him, but I think he did an okay job. We appreciate it, Erik, from the past. A couple little housekeeping things. You heard me mention with Cole Martin Headspace. That is Cole Martin's podcast that he's going to be running himself under the PHNX umbrella. That is going to also be coming out later this week. I can't give you a specific day yet, but as soon as we have a specific day and time, we will let you guys know. But that should be getting going later this week. And then if you noticed, I threw it to Kenny Dillingham and it kind of glitched real quick. Just a little video error. It's no big deal, but I will tell you about what Kenny Dillingham said about Keyshaun Elliott. And that was one of my biggest takeaways from talking to Kenny. And if you want to hear his full post-scrimmage scrum, that is up on the PHNX Sports YouTube page. I think about 8 minutes of it where he mentions that Keyshaun clip. He said he is the smartest, strongest, basically most well put together player on this roster. Talks about how his alarm is the first one to go off in the morning, and just about how much Keyshaun Elliott has stood out. And I was actually able to talk to Keyshaun off camera after practice, and you could just tell he has the right head on his shoulders. And he is somebody that, from an athletic standpoint and from a position standpoint, is going to make a massive impact on this team. But also, it just goes to prove further the fact that Kenny Dillingham is recruiting people. And those types of people are part of the reason why everybody is so excited about ASU this season. I got a couple more thoughts on Camp T before we wrap this up here. But first, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Circle K. Now, Kyle, super producer, and I headed out to Camp T up in Payson on Saturday. Woke up bright and early to make it out there. Long day for both of us, but of course on the way there we had to stop at Circle K, fuel up a little bit, hit the bathrooms as well, get a little food because Kyle decided not to eat breakfast. So of course we go over to Circle K. Listen, America's thirst stop, you know that, but the best part about Circle K is their inner circle. They want to help you save money, and they want to help you right here, right now. If you sign up for their new free membership program, the Inner Circle, you can get 25 cents off per gallon for your first 5 fill-ups, and then after that, you can save 3 cents per gallon every day. And if you fill up enough, which I know a lot of you, including myself, are driving all the time, you can eventually go up to 5 cents off every single gallon that you purchase. There's no limit to the amount of days you need to fill up 2 cars. You need to fill up multiple times because apparently you're driving to the moon and back. You get 5 cents off per gallon with that. Not only those types of deals, but they also have a member exclusive beverage deal. You can get any size pour, pop, or frosted for just 79 cents, period, but you can get it for 69 cents if you are part of that Inner Circle now through September 3rd at any Arizona location. All you got to do is join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And if you saw in that video, any of the videos where I was talking to Cole or Graham or just to you guys, me and you, I was wearing my Shady Rays. And I know I get a lot of crap for my sunglasses. Apparently I look like a blind mouse or something like that. I love my sunglasses. I absolutely love them from Shady Rays. The quality is fantastic. My eyes feel protected. It's polarized shades. They're not flimsy. They're not floppy. They're not breaking on me. And notoriously, before I got me my Shady Rays, I was breaking sunglasses left and right. Just a little bit clumsy with it. Not with Shady Rays. They are durable, and they are a world-class independent sunglasses company rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That is so many people. Durable frames, crystal clear optics, polarized shades, different designs and colorways, depending on what you want to look, whether you want to maybe get something for skiing and snowboarding, you do some more outside stuff, or you want something more casual like myself and some more basic pair of shades. Shady Rays is here for you. And if you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or get a worry-free return within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. And on top of all of that, exclusively for our listeners, you right here, right now, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, PHNX, 35% off. That's a very big percentage. And if you invest in these, as long as you don't lose them, they're going to last you for a very, very long time. Again, appreciate everybody joining us here today. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you do it for me, don't do it for me. You do it for Kyle, because Kyle also gave up his Saturday, woke up early in the morning, and came out there just to help put everything together. And Emily in the chat says, can't wait to check out the Camp T doc. We're so excited to put that together for you guys. We want to make sure it's done right. So I'll give you a better timeline later in the week on when that's going to come out. But just some really, really, really incredible stories from people just about what this means on a player perspective, on a human perspective, from a fan perspective. And I'll tell you what, a lot of these all-time ASU fans, people that have been around for decades, they are super excited about Kenny Dillingham and super excited about this program. I want to touch on Sharon's comment in the chat. It says, one thing I dislike about practice and scrimmages is that every time the defense does well, you worry that the offense isn't good, and vice versa. And I think that definitely comes into play when you talk about the disappointing days that both Sam Levitt and Jeff Sims had. This defense is looking really, really good. Now, I do think there were some mistakes and errors from both Levitt and Sims, and yes, even Bourget a little bit as well. But Bourget was going up, this has to be mentioned as well, against the third string defense, so he wasn't going up against the starters. So that's probably why he looked a little bit better than the other two. However, he still had some really, really nice throws that would translate in any setting. But back to Levitt and Sims, the defense in general, this defense is bringing tenacity and a ferocity that was missing last year. And it's bringing a talent level that was also missing last year. And you're looking at a bunch of different players that you could instantly see as key contributors and big time playmakers when it comes to Saturdays. Of course, I'm always going to mention Cole Martin when that comes up. Haven't even mentioned Xavier Alford so far out there. He was looking good. He is a great personality as well. He is chomping at the bit to get out there. Zach Swanson was moving people. Zayas Fiaseu, CJ Fight, they were holding it down all as well. Keyshaun Elliott looked fantastic. Kamari Wilson looked really good. I mean, genuinely, Shamari, so many times you heard coaches say, good play, Shamari. That was perfect, Shamari. Do that again. Good form, good technique. It really was like, damn, everybody on this defense is kind of stepping up and clicking, and that chemistry, and that's something to where it's going to help ASU get off to such a better start to the season, as presumably the offense, whoever the quarterback is, it's going to take a little bit of time to get comfortable. Either you got Jeff Sims, who has shown that when he's in an uncomfortable situation, he can be turnover prone and prone to mistakes. You have Sam Levitt, who has not played a lot of college football, and we put into a completely new system with completely new players and what he's used to last year. And then, of course, you have Trenton Bourget, who's most likely not going to be starting the season as your quarterback. So he'll have the most continuity and chemistry. However, he's the least likely to start. So you're usually going to be looking at some sort of transition period, even playing lower level teams at the beginning of the season. And that's where your defense stepped in. And that's also something that ASU just didn't have last year. And they didn't have it, and it affected them in multiple ways. Part of it was the offense had to be on the field a lot, especially through an injury-riddled season, and that made Cam Scattaboo, Jalen Conyers, the workhorses of this team, Elijah Badger, it just wore them out. And they'll never say that, but that's just the reality of everything. If you have a defense that, doesn't get torn up, hopefully, if they're stopping people every 5 seconds, you're staying on the field a lot, but hopefully they don't give up these short drives that end in scores. If you're going to force a short drive, you at least want it to end in 0 points. And that's something that this ASU defense is a lot more set up to do than last year. I think the last thing that stood out to me was about the quarterbacks. And I'll end it on a positive note. I understand this was not the greatest scrimmage from either Sam Levitt or Jeff Sims. You need to understand this was one scrimmage in a very unique location, and that does not represent exactly who they are and who they will be for an entire season. Jeff Sims has had an incredible camp so far above many people's expectations. Sam Levitt has still looked like QB1, but it's been a lot closer than people have been expecting. But I was standing on the sidelines when Sam was out there getting first string reps in the scrimmage, and even in the goal line reps as well. And I was standing right next to Jeff Sims, and he was the most vocal supporter of Sam Levitt and the person going out there and cheering for him and rooting for his success. So even though they're competing, even though it's still, up in the air who's going to get what, there's no animosity in that locker room. And again, that's no surprise considering how Kenny Dillingham recruits people and the type of message he's putting out there of iron sharpens iron, earn your spot, so on and so forth. But what did you think from what I said in Camp T? Were you up there? Let me know down in the comments below. Of course, if you want more updates throughout camp, especially as we get closer to week 1, and you want to know when that documentary is going to be coming out. Again, mini doc, guys. It's not going to be like 25 minutes. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but it's going to be really well done, and we're going to do it right for you guys and for Camp T and for Sun Devil Nation. So be on the lookout for that if you want to follow along with that at PHNX_Sun Devils. Also be on the lookout for Headspace with Cole Martin. We'll be dropping that at some point this week too. I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the show. Hopefully have a little teaser video for you up on that Sun Devils Twitter account. You can follow our magic man behind the Mac, that is producer Cal Cooper at K Coop Sports. Especially for you tennis fans out there, you're definitely going to want to tap in with Kyle. He is all over the tennis game, doing fantastic stuff as far as his own content goes as well. So definitely make sure you go check him out. And if you want to follow along with all the shenanigans that I get into on a daily basis, you can follow me at ErikRuby. Not just doing Sun Devil stuff, was on the D-Back show that same Saturday night. I'm producing Suns a lot as well. Every single day I'm producing Suns as well. Just trying to be everywhere all at once just for you guys and here for PHNX Sports. Of course, follow at PHNX_sports. Subscribe, hit that like button. Anthony Totri is back tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So, you got stuck with me and past me for a couple days. No longer will that be the case. So we appreciate you guys sticking with me. We appreciate Ralph Amson for filling in honorably last week. And until tomorrow, for the last time I'll be saying this, at least for a little bit, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.